Hi guys, it's Megan again. This is video 2 in my series of what I'm calling SeneScam, my journey into the MLM universe and my journey out. So what I described last time was my why I ended up being vulnerable to this, my onboarding experience, and I described what is called affinity fraud. Um, I didn't call it that in the first video, but I'm telling you that's what it is now. And this is how a lot of people get pulled in to different things in life that might not be the best for them. So affinity fraud is this thing where somebody takes their participation in a subgroup, a subculture, and manipulates it in order to gain trust of other people. So in my case, as a woman in recovery, I was trusting another woman in recovery. I come to find out through my path in this process that the woman that recruited me was trying to take advantage of a lot of women in recovery and succeeded. She would recruit women from her fellowship meetings. She would recruit women that didn't have a whole lot of time. She definitely looked at people that were vulnerable and that would trust her as a woman in recovery. And it's my understanding that she continues to do this to this day, even though she's in a different MLM at this point. So during the course of time that I was a Hunbot, because that's what we call them, Huns, right? Hunbot. I did a lot of things that felt gross. I also refused to do a lot of things that felt gross, but I didn't question it as hard as I could have. Because at this point, I also experienced this idea that, I've invested some money in this. I don't want to be wrong. As a person who struggles in the past with substance abuse, I have a lot of guilt and shame and feelings that I'm not good enough. Um, and one of the things that I forgot about myself in the course of all of this is that I am a terrible salesperson. I'm a terrible salesperson. I worked retail for a long time, and thank goodness I ended up working in shipping and receiving because then I didn't have to sell anything. I'm not aggressive. I don't push things. And when I do, it just doesn't feel right. And it's definitely not authentic and genuine. And I think people can feel that in me. Um, so I did all the things I was supposed to do my onboarding and my launch party and all this stuff. And I was told initially not to buy one of the new distributor kits because they were terrible. They didn't have a good enough selection. The reality is that they didn't make my upline enough money. So she gave me a whole list of things that I should order, and I ordered them. And then we went to working on trying to sell them before they arrived, which meant me being encouraged to be pushy. Now, I went back and reread a bunch of my messages back and forth with my upline about what she wanted me to do, and I counted 3 separate times that she told me to reach out to a very specific person about a very specific color. And I had done it, and that woman had told me, like, she wasn't interested, she tried the product, she didn't really like the product. My upline then says, "Go back and ask her why she didn't like it and try to troubleshoot all these things." And I'm like, I don't push. That's not who I am. If somebody tells me no, I try to respect their no, right? That's a thing that happens for me. So I ordered all these things, and then they came out with these new distributor kits, and they had different layers of them. And my upline encouraged me to buy the most expensive kit because it was way better than the original distributor kits. And I would only be able to order it for a certain amount of time, and it would help me meet my sales goals, which really means buying goals because that's how this process works. I didn't earn commission on what I sold unless I bought. So most MLMs, their distributors are their customers, and they don't really care what you do with the products after you buy them from them. They don't track your sales. What SeneGence does is they make you click this little button when you order that says, "I attest that I have sold 70% of the product of my previous order," which is what keeps them lawful in their pursuit of tracking based off of your sales, not what you buy from the company, right? Here's the other thing, and this is where SeneGence walks into a very gray area, is that they have a lot of women who sign up for the discounted products to buy at the wholesale price. So they know that women are signing up not with the intention of selling any of the product, but they're still required to click that I just sold 70% of the product used in my previous order. So they know this and they put that button on there to keep themselves out of trouble with the FTC. It's a smart move on their part, but it's extremely, extremely shady, right? And they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that, right? So I ordered this big kit and it comes with this big carrying case. It's very clunky and has a lot of very impractical pieces to it. And there's a lot of things in it. There's no way in hell I am ever going to be able to sell. There's a bunch of lip liners in there. Nobody wanted those lip liners. They sent me some foundations. Now, I don't know if you buy makeup or you know about makeup, but foundation is an intensely personal thing. And you have to swatch yourself and you have to like check and make sure that the color is right. And a lot of times the color is not right. They did send me a bunch of like the sample tubes of all of the foundations in this kit, which was nice. But they included 2 colors of foundation that there is no way in hell anybody was gonna be able to sell because they were so niche colors that there's no way. There's just no way. So I'm already out over $120 in foundation because there's no way I'm gonna be able to sell those ever. Just not a thing. I still haven't been able to sell those, so I ended up throwing them away because there's just no way. So I ordered this kit and it's got a lot of stuff in it that I'm never going to be able to sell. And my upline knows this. Does she care? Not really. She just knows that I'm now meeting my goals, which means that she continues to earn, which means she continues to keep her rank, and all of those things. Okay. Now, mind you, my upline beyond her, I don't know who they are because she's at such a level in the company that I don't have anybody above her to go to. So for training, so this is my training. The first is a packet of paper. Now, I don't know if this has changed since I was onboarded because I just, whatever. I was given a packet of paper, essentially a PDF to download and work through the different areas. I believe they have an app now that takes you through the same things. They're all very vague, they're all very basic things, and most of the things were things that I had already done. So it was interesting to get this packet of paper of things that I had already done. Um, and I believe the app that does all the onboard training is super basic stuff and like it makes you feel like you've mastered something because I've done that or it's easy. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not. It's really not that easy. And it also gets more and more confusing because the majority of the training is focused on how do I recruit. And that was the very first thing. I think it's like I've been in for maybe 2 weeks and she's already like, are you recruiting? Who are you offering the opportunity to? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Um, and I quickly found out that whenever she would message me and ask me how I was doing, she did not mean how I was doing as a person. She meant how is my business going? My business going? How was I earning her money? That was all she cared about. She did not care about my life. And there were lots of things that were coming up that would require investment on my part. And I even have a couple of messages screenshotted where she mentioned, I know you're broke, but spend this money here, spend that money there. They would do what's called mega parties. And as a distributor, I would have to pay $10 to have my customers participate in this mega party. And all of these higher ranking women would do all these things and do these parties and these Facebook parties. And then they would buy prizes for the customers that bought stuff. My customers never bought anything. So I never won anything. It was super exciting. Not really. So there's that element, right? Um, on top of all of this, I am scrambling to try to sell things. I have some people that were buying from me, and I really appreciate the people that did buy from me because in that moment, I needed some kind of financial stuff coming in, right? I invested, I needed some financial stuff coming in. And the women that were willing to buy from me helped balance out some of the money that I had spent. And I'm going to be real, I didn't go all in the way a lot of people do when they start these things. So I was still in a bit better place than some folks, but not in the best place that was going to be, making sense for me, being a part of this. So one of the things I've been thinking about since I started thinking about doing this was we had gotten together with a group of women that were on the team for a dinner at like IHOP or something like that, something ridiculous, right? And it was more of a training. And one of the women that was there is telling me all about how she is in bankruptcy. And my upline had recruited her knowing that she was in bankruptcy. So, again, a woman who's in financial dire straits, who doesn't have the extra money to spend on this stuff, is being given a false hope. And she couldn't even buy, like, got to a point where later on she couldn't even afford to buy products to resell them, right? So this dinner, this get together it just felt really gross. And I had a couple other get togethers, it just always felt really gross. And this is where I learned about how my upline was recruiting women and preying on women in 12-step fellowships at a deeper level than I ever really understood. And that also meant there was going to be market saturation in my own networks, right? So network marketing requires you to utilize your network. Well, my networks where I live now are pretty small and they're mostly 12-step community people. So I don't feel comfortable preying on those folks. If they want to buy from me, cool, but like whatever. But I'm not going to go in and just be like, oh, hey, I see you're struggling. Come over here. I have a solution for you. No, that's not how recovery works. So I'm really having an issue with this. And I'm hearing lots of things. And one of the taglines that my upline uses all the time, and she still uses, is haters are going to hate, which is a typical MLM thing. And your opinion doesn't pay my bills. Well, guess what, honey? My opinion did pay your bills for a while. And this false empowerment stuff that she peddles, it's crap. And always putting out there, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think. But she cares very deeply about what people think, or she would be posting all the things that she posts in order to appear relatable, to appear like she has it all together, to appear like her life is perfect. Because that's what you have to do in an MLM, right? You have to put out the perfection. So through all of this, I had a 1 month that I actually made enough money to feel like it was worth the amount of effort I was putting in. And I put in a lot of effort for a long time. And not, I just couldn't get traction. I couldn't get traction. I couldn't get traction. And I finally got to a place where I was like, you know what, I'd rather focus on my full-time career. And what does that look like? And just doing that. And every time I would slide backwards, she would pop up in my inbox. How are you? What's going on? How are you doing this? Have you tried this? We're doing this month. Have you done this? Have you talked to these people? How are you doing with recruiting? And it was never, hey, are you okay? Hey, how are you doing? It was essentially, why aren't you making me money? And then the trainings started again, and they were being held an hour away from my home at night during the week, or they were being held during the day when I was working. And I was always being asked to take time off work to come to this training or to go to California and meet the owner of the company because we got this great opportunity. And it was always last minute. It was always like 2 or 3 days beforehand. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And when I would explain why I couldn't drive an hour for a 3 hour training on the other side of town at 7 o'clock at night to then drive an hour home, I got a lot of flack. And this is when I realized that this woman was going to be playing favorites, and she did. She would only invite the members of her team that were top producers to certain things, right? She wouldn't invite the whole team because why would she? Every time we had set up time to get together and talk, she had some reason why she had to cancel. I booked a couple of events. So I did a bridal show where I made virtually no money and lost money on the booth rental. But I was paired up with a couple of ladies that were just absolutely amazing women. And I'm really glad I got to know them. They were pretty low, like I was on the totem pole. But they were so sweet and they were so wonderful and their energy was outstanding. And I like being around people like that, right? One of them and I even did another event together where we ended up making some decent money. And I think she's an amazing human and she continues to be an amazing human. And I can't ever say anything bad about her in that respect. And she has also quit the MLM as far as I know. And then I did an event with my upline. And let me tell you, every other event I worked, we would ping pong. We would, like, oh, it's your turn. It's your turn for the sale. Or, oh, hey, do you have this product? Because I'm making the sale, but I know it's your turn to make the money. So why don't you take the sale? Like, we would ping pong it to make it fair. When I did an event with my upline, she made a ton of money and I made nothing because she made sure she got all the sales, all of them. She even poached sales out from underneath me. The other thing that happened during this time frame is that some of my friends who were in other MLMs started to come out of the woodwork trying to recruit me into their MLM. And I don't blame them because you see somebody who's open to it, like, oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this because the heavy emphasis on recruiting in every MLM, it makes people predatory. And a lot of people do two or three at once. And I don't hold any animosity towards them whatsoever. But I was always very clear. Like my goal in joining was to sell and make the money that way because I was told that your income would be based mostly on your sales, so you controlled your own income. So recruiting to me was silly. Like I didn't see the point in it. I had a few women who signed up underneath me, mostly to get the discount. And I only had a couple sign up that were interested in potentially selling, but that nothing ever came of it. And I'm super grateful that that's the case. Because I think I would feel even worse as a human if I had recruited women who then invested a lot of money and time and energy into something that they were just doomed to fail at. We were constantly told that we were not oversaturated. We were definitely oversaturated. So much so that we became targets of email scams from people wanting to buy product and send fake checks and that kind of thing. So that was super fun. Um, but the scamming that happened inside of the company was enough to make my stomach hurt. And later on, my husband had even told me like he wanted to meet my upline just so he could tell her off because of the way she would talk to me and the way that she would push things at me and the way that she essentially was using me and didn't like the energy that was coming out of her. And I think that's really interesting, right? So I got to a place in 2019 where I was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I clearanced out all of my inventory. I sold off what I had. I was keeping my membership to get discount on the products that I was using because I'm going to be real. I don't like some of the products, but some of them I've really liked and I have used and I still have some left. So I'm using them up because I spent a lot of money. So I want to use them. I like them. I'm going to use them. But once they're gone, they're gone. I'm not bothering anymore. So I decided to get out and I'm done. And then I get an email saying that this woman is going to be my new upline because my upline has unsigned her contract with SeneGence and is moving on. Didn't hear it from my upline directly. And so I messaged her and I said, what's this? And she's like, oh, well, I thought you were getting out too. So I just didn't feel like I needed to tell you. So this woman is supposed to be my friend, right? We're supposed to be friends. And she never supported my decision to leave. In fact, she kind of cut me off when I decided I was going to leave. But then she decides to leave and it's nothing. Okay, that's cool. So I just kind of let her know, like, I'd like to know your decision in this. And she says that she's leaving to go to a different MLM. It's newer. That's where my heart is. No, honey, you want to get in early so that you can make more money because you'll be at the top of the pyramid because she was having trouble breaking through to the very tippy top of the pyramid that we were in. And I know this. I know this to be true. And the reality is that she's been very successful at breaking into the very tippy top of that pyramid by scamming people the same way she was doing it in the MLM that I joined with her. Now, this is what else happened is that when people did not follow her to the new MLM, they were nothing to her. I realized quickly that she was no longer following me on Instagram and she was no longer interacting with me on Facebook. And all of my messages to her were like one word answers. What also really rubs me raw is that she had come to my daughter's birthday party a few weeks before I got that email and said nothing to me in person about what was going on. And her energy just felt really weird the whole time she was there. And it was very strange that she had come because she was very much not communicating with me at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. So it was weird. And then I realized that she was probably thinking about how she could pitch me to move in to this new MLM with her. Um, and I just, no, I wasn't going to do it. Um, so my new upline, I didn't really know. I knew that there had been some weird falling out between her and my upline that recruited me, my recruiter, and another woman who was also in the Crown Princess tribe of people. And I didn't know what it was because I don't do drama like that. That's not my thing. And so I reach out to this woman and I kind of let her know, like, hey, I'm just trying to keep the discount, blah 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 blah. This woman has been undeniably one of the sweetest human beings I've met. She is very, very much about maintaining integrity about some things. Yes, she's in an MLM and she's high up, which makes you question some of that statement from me. But I'm going to tell you that she has never once put pressure on me to do anything other than what I felt like doing. She's been nothing but supportive. She's let me know, different things that would help me out if I wanted to continue. She doesn't put any pressure whatsoever on me to do anything other than what I want to do and when I want to do it. Um, because I gave it another shot for like a month and I made decent money in that first month and then it just didn't work again. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do this back and forth. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my effort. Um, but I couldn't see where my previous upline got this impression of who this person was. And then I started seeing videos from the other crown princess who left to go to the new MLM with my recruiter. I know this is confusing, but I'm trying not to use names because I don't want to disparage them necessarily. I'm just letting you know my experience. So the other crown princess was posting all these things about how, she was getting in trouble and like she was being reported for all this stuff and veiled it with that it was the woman who was my new upline, which is crap. Which is just crap. If you are doing shady things, then yes, you need to be called out on it. You chose to leave a company, so why do you get to continue to make money from that company? Right? Like that's the thing. And that was what was really kind of happening. And I also heard, my recruiter had said like part of why she got out was she saw some shadiness at the top and she didn't really like that. And it's like, no, you didn't like that you couldn't get there. You didn't like that you couldn't be at the tippy top and making all the money off the backs of all these other people. And that's the thing. That's where I get into arguments with other people that are in other MLMs when they talk about how, well, it's not passive income when you're an upline. No, it is passive income when you're an upline. Just because you do a once a month training with people doesn't mean that you have earned 5 to 10% of a commission off of their sales, especially if you've never met them. Like, you don't earn, no, that's not how this works. Like, if you get a bonus, totally different, but you shouldn't get a commission off of people that you don't even know, that are 2 or 3 lines down, that you have no direct contact with. That's not okay. You are making money off of people that you don't know, that you're not training, that have nothing to do with you. That's a pyramid scheme. That's what that is. And I get it. Some people are so strong and having drunk the Kool-Aid that it's just they can't see it. My MLM is different. My MLM is different. Not all MLMs are the same. Yeah, they are. They really are. They just fine tune some of the things that they do, right? And they continue to have the hidden costs like website fees, commission card fees. You have to make this much in sales in order to keep your rank. That person over there, if they don't have a team, it's not a problem. They don't have to just to sell that much or spend that much. But you do because you have to make a certain amount of sales in order to keep your rank, and the people below you need to meet a certain amount of sales in order for you to keep your rank. That's how it works. Okay. That's how it always works. Whether or not the products are good doesn't matter. Most of the products are okay. And a lot of the MLMs, the problem is that because of all the commissions that go on top of it, this is where you get the overinflation of cost. And if I can buy a mascara somewhere else for $10, what makes yours better at 30? Like I don't get it. And the high end makeup sales and that kind of thing. I even think some of the high end stuff that's sold in department stores is a little bit of a racket too. And I definitely think that Ulta has some issues. But that's just me. That's just me. Um, but at the end of the day, I started to see the difference between my recruiter and my new upline, and it also made me feel very gross. Because this woman who I thought was my friend, who engaged in affinity fraud, had definitely been predatory with me. And I'm one of those people that I want to believe the best in the world. That's why I do what I do for a living. I want to believe the best in the world. I want to see people, even people who've made mistakes, live their best lives. I believe that everybody is capable of goodness. And sometimes that gets in the way of me making some good decisions for myself when it comes to people. And my husband will tell you that he tells me all the time, like, you have a terrible, terrible judge of character. No, I have a great judge of character, but sometimes I just don't listen to it. And that's my problem. Is I don't go with my gut. So, um, yeah, so I just started to feel gross. It wasn't working for me. I kept being made to feel like it was my fault. I wasn't hustling enough. I wasn't doing enough. And the reality is that I was doing everything that I could do. And I wasn't being genuine to who I was. And I wasn't a good fit for being a salesperson because I'm not a good fit for being a salesperson. That's just not how this goes. Especially for products that I never really used until I got signed up with this company. So there's that, right? Anyway, so the next time I'm going to talk to you about some stuff that goes into the psychology of the MLM and the ways that it fits for being a cult. Because MLMs have very similar structures to cults. And we're going to talk about that too. And then I'm going to tell you what final straw for me, like what really just, I'm done. I'm just done. And that'll come up in video number 3. Thanks for watching.